You have to watch this because it's absolutely fantastic. Hi everybody, I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Ott, and this is your right angle about a story that led to a protest, that led to a counter-protest, that led to one of the most amazing videos I've ever seen. So just to sketch in for you, Hampshire College is a home of a number of precious snowflakes who determined that the U.S. flag was worth burning and basically offensive to people, so they decided to take it down because they don't want to upset anybody. Well, it turns out that this idea upset about 2,000 veterans who showed up at Hampshire and counter-protested the flag coming down. And because of that, it became national news. And because it became national news, this one gentleman took a look at it, and I'm going to just play enough of this for it to make sense to you.
Hello, Hampshire College students. I'm Kyle. I run the kind of marketing agency that you have always absolutely dreamed of working at. So let me give you a little bit of a behind the scenes. Come on. We have the most well-stocked bar you will ever see in your life. We have video games. We have an office dog. We have 8-foot beanbag chairs. We have a private caterer, and of course a personal trainer. It's really everything that your gender studies professor told you you would find in the work environment when you graduate college in, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. But here's the thing. There are actually very, very few companies that are like ours. We're way outside the box. We're insane. We do crazy stuff. And guess what? Even we won't hire you. Oops, did I forget your trigger warning? Let's fix that. You know, in the last week, we have filmed with bacon, bourbon, puppies, and guns. Now, you're probably wondering what bourbon, bacon, puppies, and guns have in common. It's really one very simple thing. They're all far more American than you will ever be. Want to know what is also more American than you will ever be? Say hello to my friend Micah. Micah, can you show him a little skin? Micah, do me a favor. Why don't you tell everybody what they're looking at?
So on 9 July, I was shot and took a direct hit from a suicide bomber while deployed to Afghanistan.
So you young activists, you champions of character, you 8th place trophy holders, until you realize that this is earned by this, then you will never be able to actually survive in the working world.
Well, boys, that's just got to be one of the best things I've ever seen. And one of the reasons it's one of the best things I've ever seen is because of the place where he works, right? I mean, here's a guy who has made millennial heaven. We've got a fully stocked bar, and we have computer games that you can play, and we have big fluffy beanbag chairs to sit in, and all the rest. And you're not going to have any of this because I'm not hiring you. The reason I'm not hiring you is because of this guy who hurt himself, nearly killed himself defending the flag over in Afghanistan. Steve, do you think that this message actually sinks into people? Do you think that if somebody who was part of a flag burning contest, it's what they seem to be these days, if you had young social justice warriors exposed to this video, do you think it would change any minds?
Let me try and think this through. I'm not sure I was expecting that question. What this video reminds me of most, and it's only about 4 minutes long. I watched the whole thing this morning. One of the funniest moments on Saturday Night Live ever was in 1986 when William Shatner went on, and he was doing the bit at a Star Trek convention, and it was hysterical because you've got Bill Shatner telling these old telling the conventioneers, including the super nerdy guy wearing the T-shirt that says "I grok Spock," saying, "Grow up, move out of your parents' basement. You there? Have you ever kissed a girl?" And the guy drops his head in shame. So now you have something that is arguably even better because it's not a grain of truth making a comedy routine. It's the actual CEO of an actual company doing the exact kind of things with the exact kind of environment that these special snowflake kids have been told is theirs by right. That they're entitled to a high-paying job at a hip tech company that has all the bennies like the bar and the beanbag chairs and the Xbox and all the rest. That this is the life that they are entitled to just because they're so smug and pretentious. Well, guess what, kids? You aren't. And if this thing can't get the message through, gosh, I don't know what's going to.
Scott, do you sense, as I do, that the world is a little different now, that the tolerance for these kind of things is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, that by and large the American people are fed up with these flag burnings and these kneelings during the the national anthem and all the rest. I haven't heard anybody saying, hey, you don't have a right to do that, but I have heard a lot of people saying, you don't have a right to do it on my dime.
I think people have become, sort of run out of patience for this stuff. But what I like about this is not that it has sparked a movement to say, you can't take the flag down at your private college. But instead, these veterans decided to answer a form of speech, this activity that they engaged in, which was meant to send a message, with their own form of speech, showing up with a bunch of American flags, and then this fellow Kyle Reyes making this video with this veteran Micah who was, hit with an IED. That is returning, sort of volley for volley, the kind of speech that these young people are engaged in. And I mean, it's so troubling in many ways, but this, I can't help but think, is not just a generic attack on America. It is the idea that because Donald Trump got elected, therefore the American flag is now an avatar of evil, more so than it has been in the past, to these liberal college people. And so we should take this down because we're ashamed of the country at this point. And that's because these, like you said, these precious snowflakes, as Rush Limbaugh calls them, the young skulls full of mush, are being taught that America has essentially been immoral on the world stage. Now, I will come to the defense, in a way, of some of these people by saying this. We should be analytical about our own role in the world, about the morality of our behavior. We should carefully and constantly think about whether we are behaving ourselves apropos of who we are, of our Constitution, of our history, and stuff like that. The trouble comes when our introspection results only in outward attack and not inward change. Because nobody in these protests is ever saying something's wrong with America and that something is me. They're always saying that something is you, and you need to do something. And here, I'm going to spit in your eye to show you how much I think something's wrong with America. If we could really do a good job coming alongside of these young people and say, hey, I certainly don't want America to be an unjust place either. I don't want it to be a bigoted or racist place. I don't want it to be a bully on the world stage. I'm with you in that. Now let's examine the facts to see if we're doing that. Let's amend our ways where we are, and let's begin that analysis of ethics and morality with our own souls.
Well, as you probably know by now, I've been pretty hard on this millennial generation, and I think in most cases rightfully so. I think the reason that they trigger me so much is because they are so blatantly weak and so astonishingly ignorant, and yet at the same time filled with such arrogance and such certainty about what they think they know. So it's very easy to take it out on these kids and say things like, well, we're not going to hire you here. But ultimately, we have to come back to the fact that those kids are not the people that handed out trophies for everybody. It wasn't the kids got together and said, we all want trophies. It was the parents. It was the boomer parents. Right. It wasn't these kids who said, I don't want any discipline. It wasn't these kids who were parked in front of computers or iPads to grow up because their parents were too busy or too distant or whatever. None of them is this fault. They didn't do any of this thing that they've become as a cohort. Let's not forget, by the way, that if we're talking about a guy who's not going to hire millennials because they spit on the flag and offended this soldier, that there are so many of our current military personnel who are in fact millennials, who are showing without question the most lethality, the most judgment, the most intelligence, the most absolute decency of any army we've ever fielded, and they're millennials too. I think that the world is changing, and I think this country is changing too. And I don't want to smack people hard enough to knock them out. I just want them to get a little smack across the face, enough to wake them up. And it's funny how life works, but often you do need to be smacked in the face in order to wake up. I wish it weren't the way it is, but that is the way it is, and that's the way it is. So kudos to you, Mr. Reyes, for your incredible video, which I think was right to the heart of everything. I hope you can find people to man that bar and those beanbag chairs who will be worthy of your commitment to America and certainly Micah's commitment to America. And I think that people can wake up from these things. I get the feeling that we are coming out of a fog bank, a very dense fog bank, and then in front of us, as we said, it's not Skull Island at all. It's actually open water and sunshine, and things may be getting a whole lot better. That's your right angle on protests, counter-protests, and videos for our younger generation. It's all made possible by our paying members here at BillWhittle.com. we say all these things automatically at the end of the show, but we should really know that this is in fact something we do feel every single day. Great gratitude to those of you who have put up some resources so that thousands and thousands and thousands of people can watch these things for free. So thanks again for your membership, and we'll see you next time.
I'll man the bar.